Hello and welcome to PCMag Live. I'm Dan Costa, he is Sascha Segan, and we've got a great show for you today. We're going to cover the top tech news of the day, we're going to answer some of your reader questions, and then we're going to pull one cool thing off the lab and the shelf, and it's a really cool thing today. I've been excited about this for weeks, anticipating it being in here, so that'll be at the end of the show. Sascha, let's start with the big news of the day. Big changes at BlackBerry. BlackBerry is reorganizing. They are not going to put themselves up for sale. They got an extra $1 billion in investment, and the CEO, Thorsten Heins, is out. Is this good for BlackBerry? And where's this company heading?
This is pretty good for BlackBerry. So what happened is that today was the day when Fairfax, which was the venture capital group that was considering buying BlackBerry, needed to say whether or not they were going to buy BlackBerry. And they decided that, no, we aren't going to buy BlackBerry, but we're going to invest $1 billion in BlackBerry. We're going to rejoin the BlackBerry board, and we're going to boot out the CEO in exchange for presumably someone of their choice. Now, one of the interesting things about what's going on here is we're not entirely sure what this means for the other groups trying to buy BlackBerry. For instance, former CEO Mike Lazaridis, along with Qualcomm, was trying to buy BlackBerry. There were some other murmurings of intent. We don't know if this means BlackBerry is totally off the market. But right now, it looks like it's going forward as an independent company with this new guy, Chen, formerly of Sybase, at the head.
Yeah, and from what I've read, they are no longer pursuing strategic partnerships or new options. So they are not looking to be sold. Obviously, that was something they put themselves on the market. Now I think they're pulling themselves back. They're going to try and make a go out of it as they are. And that extra $1 billion of capitalization can't hurt. But the question is, do they have a vision? Do they have the products to be a successful company?
Now, what I think is interesting about Chen and what leaves me hopeful is that he turned around Sybase. It was failing when he came on board in 1998. It then became successful under his leadership, so he knows how to turn around a failing company. But also, his focus is on enterprise software, and that's really where BlackBerry has its potential strength. My question really is, will Chen be brave enough to abandon hardware if that's not where BlackBerry's future is?
Yeah.
And to make it truly an enterprise software and service provider? That is my big question.
I think that in times of desperation, men are capable of great bravery. And this would definitely be desperate times for BlackBerry. Also in the news, Netflix has posted some 4K video online. They say they want to be one of the premier destinations for 4K video. 4K video's got 4 times the number of pixels as a 1080p signal. It is very hard to come by online. Obviously, this is just a test. But I mean, does this speak, is the future of 4K video going to be streamed? And is that something Netflix can realistically deliver to customers?
Well, the big question here, well, first of all, I wanted to mention that apparently the name of the 4K video is El Fuente.
It is. It's on fire.
Yeah, okay, so the big question is, are people going to be able to actually receive this 4K video through their home internet connections in this country where home internet connections in a lot of places have kind of stalled in terms of speed because of a lack of competition? I mean, if you're lucky enough to have Google Fiber, which is not building out very fast, if you're lucky enough to have Fios, which really isn't building out anymore at all, then you're going to be able to get this stuff. But if the 4K video needs a solid 15 megabits per second down, how much of America is going to be able to get this? Because I don't see these high-speed connections being laid in a lot of places for less than a king's ransom per month, basically.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. We need to be able to tax the system in order to get the system upgraded. Right now, there's no incentive for cable providers to offer more than 10 megabits per second because there's no one else that's offering something similar in that neighborhood. This is one of those things that all of a sudden, if 4K takes off, if there's content available, if people start buying 4K TV sets, all of a sudden there's going to be demand for these fast internet connections. Maybe that could lead to some faster download speeds. But right now, it's definitely just in the pilot phase. Either way, it'll make testing 4K TVs a lot easier in the lab, so I'm all for it, because we need as much 4K content right now as we can get. Also in the news today, Motorola is teasing the Moto G. This is going to be you go to the website, they've got a lot of little planets, a lot of greenery on those planets. Is this going to be like an environmentally conscious version of the Motorola X?
Well,
what have you been hearing?
I think the G here stands for global. The Moto G is supposed to be a less expensive version of the Moto X, designed for countries where there are no LTE networks, where a lot of people buy things prepaid off the shelf. So they'll be able to get it to maybe a $300 price point and be able to move some units that way. There have been a lot of rumors out there about the specs of the Moto G, and what I find is particularly interesting is that aside from the lack of LTE, the specs are very similar to the Moto X. So it'll be interesting to see how they try to continue to differentiate the Moto X and make it clear that there are people who should buy the higher value phone as well. I mean, the Moto G it may have a 1.5 gigahertz Qualcomm processor as compared to the 1.7 gigahertz in the Moto X. It might have a slightly lower resolution camera, but it'll still have that 720p screen, and it'll probably still have all of those nice Motorola software additions, which are in part what drove me to use a Motorola X as my primary phone. That's my phone right now.
I think it's really interesting that there's some really interesting developments at the low end of the Android market where you're getting these super phones that are coming in like the Nexus 5, like the Moto G, that are very, very capable phones, but are coming in way below the Galaxy S4 cost, way below the cost of the iPhone 5S. These are nice. I think this is really interesting, and it could put some pressure on Apple.
I actually wonder if the lack of LTE on the G is segmentation, that they don't want the G to eat into Moto X sales in countries that have LTE. So they're purposefully keeping LTE off of this less expensive phone so that people in places like the US and Western Europe will want to buy an X instead.
All right, that's today's news. Let's move on to reader questions. You can send us your questions via Facebook, via email, Instagram. Any way you can get the question to us, we will answer it here on air. Our question today is from Kim via email. She has an iPad 3 and she wants to know if it's worth upgrading to an iPad Air. Sascha, you worked the weekend reviewing the iPad Air, many hours. Is it worth doing if she's going from a 3 to the Air?
I think so. If you're really strapped for cash, then no, save your money. Save your money for presents for your kids and food for your table and all of that. All of these things are more important than an iPad Air.
That's good that we put that first. Food for your table comes before the iPad Air.
Okay, but the Air is much lighter, has better battery life, and is much faster than the 3. And I know a lot of people are dissatisfied with the gumminess of some applications on the 3, especially if you're using higher test stuff like iMovie in iOS 7. The Air will get rid of all of that gumminess. So if you're satisfied with your 3, by all means, keep your 3. It's a nice tablet. But if you feel like some things have gotten too slow, if you feel a little frustrated by the experience, the Air will really speed that up.
And there won't be a new iPad probably for another year. So it's a good time to buy in the process. There's not going to be a new version of the iPad out in the next 3 months, although they have surprised us once or twice.
Yeah, but I think the Air is this year's iPad.
Yeah, absolutely. So there you go, Kim. I hope that helps. And please keep putting food on your table. Your children appreciate it. Now it's time for one cool thing. We test thousands of products here in the lab in New York City. Every day we pull one product off the shelf to show it to you as one cool thing. This came in last week. I've been super excited about getting this in. This is the Galaxy NS camera. And it looks a lot like your typical, interchangeable lens cameras. But if you turn it around, on the back, full Android.
So what we have here...
That is awesome.
What we have here
Every blogger's dream.
It's a 20 megapixel interchangeable lens camera. Starts at $15.99 for the body, $16.99 with a lens. Of course, you can buy other Samsung NX lenses to go onto it. And as Dan said, it runs full Android. It also supports 3G on at least the AT&T and T-Mobile networks, as well as Wi-Fi and Bluetooth to connect to the internet. But you can run all of these, you can run basically any Android app you want to. For instance, we use a Galaxy camera a lot at trade shows, and we have Dropbox on it. And so as a result, whenever the thing walks into Wi-Fi range, it automatically uploads its photos to our Dropbox, and the people here at the home office can then download them and turn them into those slideshows that we know you love.
Yeah,
right?
I would just point out, so another great example, Instagram. I'm a huge fan. Instagram built into your camera, so you shoot high quality, great looking photos, and you upload them to Instagram instantly, just like you're taking them with your phone.
Right. So our photo analyst Jim Fisher is looking at the Galaxy NX right now. He's working on the review. We around here are all very excited for this connected, high-quality camera that really takes the idea from the Galaxy camera and steps it up a notch in terms of photo quality. And you can check for the review in the next couple of days on PCMag.com.
Yeah, I love my Sony NEX F3. But I'm going to read Jim's review. I'm going to see if the quality's as good on this camera, and this could be my next camera. It's a fantastic looking camera. Again, we'll wait for the review to find out if it's a good value, but pretty amazing stuff. That's the Galaxy NX, and that is PC Mag Live for today. We're going to be back on air tomorrow at 12:30. Please join us then, and do send us those questions. We really appreciate it. Also, I'd ask you to like us on Facebook, share us on Instagram. We're trying to drive up some audience and some traffic for this show. We appreciate your support. Sascha, thanks for joining us. Come back tomorrow.